appliances. I've been told that they can turn your appliances into weapons against you. So it's become a nightmare. I think I've been implanted at a VA hospital. I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out. I know I'm being watched everywhere I go, surveilled, tracked like an animal.
Often when I'm with people, the perpetrators leave me alone, perhaps to make it look like it's my imagination. And then often when I am alone, they start hurting me, they start fatiguing me.
Non-consensual experimentation is a total violation of human rights. It should be outlawed, any non-consensual experimentation. People should not have to be subjected like this, and it would be important if you could recommend to President Obama to change the regulation of informed consent to include even classified operations on persons, and to outlaw and forever ban any non-consensual experimentation in the United States.
Thank you.
I am requesting that the Presidential Commission conduct an investigative hearing on non-consensual human experimentation, and I do have credible evidence. I'm submitting 1,158 videos and pictures that's been occurring for the last 2 years.
Gang stalking and harassment was used to implement this non-consensual biotechnology application that is being used on me.
This has many names: gang stalking, mob stalking, community stalking. You're in the middle of this ridiculous, irrational impossibility that is real and is happening.
First, The Guardian revealed the National Security Agency is collecting telephone records of First, The Guardian revealed the National Security Agency is collecting telephone records of millions of Verizon customers.
You can surveil someone through their phones, through their certainly through their television sets.
The last year and a half, he's been systematically followed by a group of people.
Does the FBI use drones for surveillance on U.S. soil? Yes.
New Associated Press investigation shows that the Bureau has its own little Air Force with scores of planes flying over American cities, recording video and tracking cell phone conversations.
He has a man outside of his house in a hood, like basically like a hood that looks,
Well, this almost sounds like gang stalking or something. Have you heard of that?
Many of the things that victims of gang stalking describe are also symptoms of mental disorders.
We're not having a group hallucination. This is actually something that's happening.
September 1988. Is the start of the fall semester at the University of California, Davis, where Cheryl Welch is beginning life as a law student.
I grew up in Sacramento, California. I was a receptionist at Kaiser Hospital for 10 years. I decided that I wanted to go back to school, so I went to UC Davis.
But as her studies get underway, things change.
I know what normal life is, and life became very abnormal.
It starts with a telephone.
Usually you pick up a phone, you hear dial tone, but my phone, there would be click noises. There'd be a long pause, then static.
She has it checked, but the strange noises continue. Cheryl becomes concerned. It's the first of many appliances that behave erratically in her presence.
Things in my environment. All of the electrical equipment didn't work anymore. My computer, my TV.
Her unease grows as she discovers it's not only machines that act strangely around her.
Police cars started to follow me. I had a rock thrown at my car. Somebody tried to drive me off the road. I mean, I've never had a ticket. I've never taken drugs. People in my environment were acting out of character. I was acting my normal self, and people were acting weird. People turned against me. People would stare at you. Students would swear and spit on me.
Weirder still, random strangers on the street seem to know exactly what she's thinking.
I felt like I was surveilled. I thought somebody could read my thoughts.
Cheryl's personal life falls apart as friends and family drift away. Then, she's fired from her job.
It was like shock and awe. For 3 years, it was like that. Shock and awe. For 3 years, it was like that. And I realized, this wasn't going to go away, despite my best efforts. That was a really depressing, blackest moment of my life. I just cried and cried and cried. I thought, why not just end it?
Fearing for her sanity, Cheryl seeks help.
So I went to my advisor, and I was having trouble academically, and he helped me get through this, and he was the only one that believed me.
Her advisor comes to a quick conclusion. Cheryl is the victim of deliberate and organized campaign of harassment. But who is behind it?
First, we checked out. We thought, maybe there's a psychology experiment. They're trying to stress you out. There was no psychology experiment. So I hired private investigators, and I tried to figure out if there were any bugs in my apartment. Nothing. And talking to my advisor, we both figured only the government would have this kind of control over your telephone or what you did in the privacy of your apartment.
Deciding to investigate, Cheryl gains access to government documents. They reveal the unthinkable. A top-secret experiment is subjecting everyday citizens to mind control.
Major countries have developed this secret mind control technology, especially Russia and the United States.
She's convinced the people who harassed her were under mind control and didn't even know it.
Somebody has to make them do things, without their knowing it.
But why choose Cheryl?
You're going to need to experiment on a lot of people. You can't do it ethically, so you're going to do it covertly,
She thinks she knows what put her on the government's radar.
Before I went to UC Davis, I went to the Army recruiting office. I filled out the forms, I put in my application, but I went to UC Davis instead. And then after that was when this happened. After networking with other victims, they have that connection. Former people who applied to the CIA, former people who have relatives in the government or the CIA are often targets.
Are the minds of innocent citizens being controlled by government-sanctioned experiments? Is Cheryl Welch telling the truth, or are her claims absurd? Just another conspiracy theory that's impossible to prove.
They want you to get to a point where, you don't die, but, you're pretty messed up after the scenario, until it starts again. Because there's points where the scenario is going on. It's like the street theater has been activated, and then the scene is over. They're out of character. But then you start to notice, it when you're in a room and you're with these individuals, and it's not always like that. There's different levels to it, where you're at one level and you're just going and going because you're so programmed into all this, and they wait for your defenses to come down a little bit, and then you'll start to notice it because you'll start to see people appearing, people showing up. Oh, that's that person from last week. Now they're here, and you'll start to notice them shifting around the room in really strange ways, which starts to make you feel uneasy. And then I think to myself, uh-oh, it's about to happen, isn't it?
I would hear a horn in the distance. I knew it was going to start. I hear noise in the distance. Here it comes, and then there it goes. And there's a climactic event that's about to happen.
Where I end up with my hair, I look distressed, and then it's I might be in a hotel room, and the hotel clerk is knocking on the door, delivering messages in envelopes, where it's almost like these people are receiving direction from somewhere else. They're not acting on their own. They're a part of something greater, that they are receiving direction from some higher source.
Now, do these people actually look like they know what's going on, or do they look like they're being mind controlled? Do they look like ordinary people being used as puppets, or do they look like they're in on it and they're conscious of them being in on it?
Some do and some don't.
Yeah.
Some are completely mind controlled, and they have no idea that they're participating. I was at school one day, and a person came up to me and said, all those people doing those signals, right? Because they do these sort of no signals to kind of, I've heard things like they're they're pointing in the direction that you're walking, or they're signaling to the next person about what you're about to do, as if they know what you're about to do before you do it. And he said, they're not aware that they're doing that.
He said that was very common, and that they were using microwaves because they had taken really advanced EEG images of people in different emotional states, mapped those digital brainwave signatures, emotional clusters of people feeling different emotional states. They said that they can take those digital brainwave signatures, piggyback on a certain bandwidth of microwaves as a carrier wave, and they can target people worldwide without need for a local transmitter. He confirmed all that to me and said that they use satellite to target anybody they want, and it's a very common procedure within this portion of the NSA.
Grows as she discovers it's not only machines that act strangely around her.
Police cars started to follow me. I had a rock thrown at my car. Somebody tried to drive me off the road. I mean, I've never had a ticket. I've never taken drugs. People in my environment were acting out of character. I was acting my normal self, and people were acting weird. People turned against me. People would stare at you. Students would swear and spit on me.
Weirder still, random strangers on the street seem to know exactly what she's thinking.
I felt like I was surveilled. I thought somebody could read my thoughts.
Under what I believe is neuromonitoring. When I can think of something and go outside and somebody will walk by me and repeat what I just said, I know I'm not crazy. Okay, regardless of what is being said, they make the victims of these programs to be diagnosed with a psychological illness to hide these crimes, because we all know that to discredit an individual, if you give them a mental illness or diagnose them with a mental illness, no one is going to believe us. No one is going to believe you or I, and this is how they are hiding these crimes.
So I was aware that some people didn't know, because even friends of mine or family members could be a part of it in that way, but some people are very, very aware, and they love to participate. So you'll start to notice that there's different degrees of people in this game, and some are better than others, have better intention for you. Some seem like they're doing it against their will, that they're aware that something's being used against them, and they don't want to participate, but they have to for some reason.
They have to.
Some love to participate. And some aren't aware that they participate.
And then they can't tell you that they're participating. And I've experienced that voice to school, and that by far was the I think for me the worst part of it, because I could hear my family members' voices. I hear my mother crying. And it seemed like every memory that I've had, they had access to it.
I'm scared. My voices keep telling me that everyone's gonna kill me. They keep saying how my mom's gonna kill me. They just keep saying how everyone is gonna kill me. Everyone's gonna kill me. Everyone's gonna kill me. I don't feel safe. My mom is supposed to come right now, but they say when she gets here she's gonna stab me. She's not gonna stab me. Shut up. You're not right. I don't know what to do. I don't know if I should go to the park, get out of the house, because they said I'm not safe here. I don't want to do this anymore, man. It's horrible. Please stop saying that. You're telling me to go get the knife. Go get the knife.
Dominique!
Yeah? What?
Where are you?
I'm in my closet.
What are you doing in your closet? Huh?